Hey everyone, so the last video that I made was involving this vehicle here. It's called the Beep Bangler. I don't know, it just add a B to the name of everything, but I said in that video that I wanted to do an Overland version, and that is exactly what I'm going to be doing. So let's get started with that. So things to talk about here, engine is probably going to stay the same, but we are going to try and, well, give it some bigger wheels, just make it more off-road ready. We're going to go for an Overland style build, and then we'll take it to the tough truck map and see how it does versus some of my previous off-road creations. Alright, the first thing I'm going to change is paint. The paint on this was pretty decent last time. My goodness, in red it is very vibrant, but I think what I want to do is make it kind of a cherry red. So this is what it looks like if you apply the cherry red to everything, but then if I go back to paint number 2, I believe it's body secondary, I can change the top back to black. So we'll probably stick with the black top for this one. And now before we go too far, we need to upgrade these wheels. They're just too small. So first things first is going to be the fixtures. Once they load, I do have a lot of wheel mods. I'm going to swap these out for a little bit more off-road focused wheels. And then we'll go into, well, probably wider and just generally bigger ones. We'll see what we can do to make it look aggressive. Alright, I've chosen some rims. If we go chunky off-road tires, well, for one, we're going to have terrible grip issues on the pavement, but we can also widen these a lot, at up to 3/15s on both. But that's not all we're going to do. We're going to increase the tire diameter as much as we can get. Okay, that's not that big, unfortunately. We can't get monster wheels on this, but with 16-inch rims, those are some wide lads on the bottom. Oh yeah, you might be hearing some noise. That's because the people above me are watching a movie loudly. Not much I can do about that. I apologize. Alright, so seeing as this is an Overland build, we're probably going to need a winch. So going over to the tow hooks, we can just pick one up right here, and then we'll just put it right on top of the bumper. I don't know, make it matching with the color of the paint. And there we go. We have some recovery method, and it does make the bumper look a little bit better. I'm thinking we'll probably keep this stock bumper, but we might be changing the rear. I'm not sure. Oh yeah, one thing that I missed on the last one was some like sliders here or something, so let's do those. Alright, these are the ones I was thinking of. If we put these here, I guess they'd be called running boards, then that should hopefully kind of complete this look a little bit. Oh yeah, that's real good right there. We just have to get rid of the chrome, and then we're pretty much set. Okay, things are slowly coming together. You don't really need to do much to these to make it an Overland build, but I'm gonna go a little bit more aggressive, we'll say. And I know people were saying last time, gas cap on the wrong side. I kind of just place these randomly, like I don't even think about it when I do it. So I guess that's what you get with it being a knockoff Jeep. Alright, so I went ahead and swapped out this bumper for, well, the previous bumper that was on there for this bumper here, and I've made the exhaust dual exhaust, although that doesn't actually have any meaning because the exhaust on this thing is single. So it's purely aesthetic, but just trying to fill that in a little bit. I don't really like the look of this. I actually like the other one better. So I don't know, I might change that. We will see. Yeah, you know what? This is just better. This is just a better look for it. And basically right now we're fixing all of its small issues. Alright, so no off-road rig is complete without some giant roof rack on the top of it to hold all your stuff. So let's put one of those up there. We have a few options, and some of them have lights. I'm going to try to go for one that does have lights. But we could put this on there as an example. Oh, that is big. Goodness. This is sort of turning into the Rhino Big that I made before. Maybe let's try something a bit smaller. Alright, so we've got a basket on the top, but I decided against using one of the ones with lights because I remembered that I have this light bar mod. I just have to find it. There we go, this is it. So as long as we make it bigger, it'll sort of fill in that gap, and currently it's blue, so we'll change that back to white. Oh yeah, if the menus look a little bit more crisp than the actual vehicle, it's because I've had to turn down the resolution scale. I've got a 2K monitor now, and my graphics card can't really handle automation at 2K, so we're scaling it back a bit, but yeah, the videos will still be 1080. Hopefully the quality is still there. Let me know if there's actually a difference or not. So I'm starting to look at this from afar and thinking that is not bad, but we still need to do a few little pieces here and there. Like when I made this Jeep originally, I tried to do a bunch of detail, and it worked out pretty well, but now this is the time when we add just that extra bit of detail that was missing before. Oh yeah, here we go. So I'm going to replace the spare with, I think, probably 2 of these. We'll change the color from red so that not everything is red, but yeah, definitely needed some reserve fuel tanks on this thing. So one thing I was thinking about trying to do, and okay, somehow this wiper has glitched into the actual Jeep there, but one thing I was going to try to do is make a snorkel. So let's give that a shot. We have a couple of different options to attempt this. One of them is these bumpers. Specifically, I think it's these ones here. You can use them in different ways. Stuff like this is really small right now, but let's try and blow it up. Unfortunately, these ones don't stick out quite as much as I would like, but it is an interesting mod to just have random shapes you can use to make things. But what I think I'm going to do instead is just use something like this. You can see that kind of just bubbles on there, so if we shrink it, we should be able to make our own custom snorkel. And then what I'm thinking I'll do is duplicate it a bunch of times, rest in peace the frame rate. Actually, I should make this the proper color first before I just duplicate it a bunch of times. That's not gonna work out too well. Oh, it really doesn't like being moved, but I'm getting somewhere. Come on, go back to where you were. Okay, this is getting really janky, but yeah, it is sort of a snorkel. Sort of. They don't blend together as well as I would have liked, and they're very, very tricky to place. I'm just gonna put that back where it was and just pretend I didn't move it, but it's coming together. And actually, before I go too far, I remembered something. The black that I used on the trim was just way too black, so we're gonna change that to a, oh goodness, maybe not that. Alright, I lightened it by 1 shade, so hopefully in Beam it actually turns out better. Maybe a little bit less black. Alright, so my custom snorkel is underway. I'm really thinking about trying it again because it just looks lumpy, but just to give you an idea of what I'm going for, this is sort of what I was thinking. I would take a light from one of these mods here. Okay, here it is, found it. Basically, I was just thinking I'd take one of these lights and try and place it in there somehow. Yeah, that's sort of what I was thinking, but it is not turning out quite as I would have hoped, so I'm going to try that again with something else. So the award for the most jank air intake goes to whatever the heck this creation is. Does this make any sense? No, but it kind of works. Kinda. Alright, you know what? I'm gonna leave that for now. It's definitely unique. It'll stick with us for this current portion of the build. I don't know if I'm gonna change that or not. Probably will at some point, but for now it's okay. I think what I'm gonna do as well, while I'm thinking about different little fixtures and stuff, is I'm gonna put some vents here, try and simulate that. And then in terms of subtle touches to this, we actually might be done. Like, the build itself today is pretty quick. It's going to be the testing that takes the most time, but should be pretty fun. I'm looking forward to the testing quite a bit. Alright, so the slightly janky air intake is definitely going to stay. Maybe I can switch to a different intake. It still looks like a megaphone. I mean, it is a megaphone, but it's kind of interesting. I don't know. Just trying out new things. It's fun to do. It makes 0 sense because the driver's not going to be able to see a single thing out of this window because of it, but yeah, we'll leave that on. Alright, so that's going to stay how it is. Just looking at this, it seems we have everything pretty much sorted out. These are way out of the area that they should be, but don't worry too much about that. Suspension is going to be our next change, and also let's see what else. Yeah, before we go anywhere, I just want to make sure the brakes are still good, and the front brakes are actually a little bit on the softer end of things, so I'm going to put them up to 4 pistons. That's pretty strong, but it should be good enough to keep this thing on the road without dying. Okay, on to suspension. So just looking at it, it's not tall enough. We need to make it taller. Currently it's standard gas monotube off-road. I like that. I don't think that's a bad thing. Maybe if we go for, I mean, a utility preset is probably a little bit too firm. I do like doing a sport preset. Actually, on the last build, I did a normal preset. If we do an off-road preset, it's going to be really soft and tall, so we'll just go right with that, and it's given us max ride height immediately, so that should be good. Just to double check, we can't make the wheels any bigger than they are, and the rims themselves are going to be fine. Alright, so it has gained weight, but it is pretty much the same as it was. I remember, I like to read the Expedition Portal and a lot of the articles they have on there, and one of the things they said was you never want to modify the engine of your overland vehicle because it's going to be harder to repair when you're out in the field. So I'm going with that today. Also, slight laziness and not wanting to change the engine, just because I figure it's pretty decent already, and I think it's going to be fine for this build. It should be adequate enough to get us up the hill, and that's what we're going to try and do now. So this is what the Beep looks like in Beam, specifically the Overland version and the regular version as well. The regular version is definitely missing some things. In the last video I didn't point them out, but I've fixed them since then. And with the addition of a couple upgrades and a lot of extra weight, honestly I think the original version is probably better off-road. But we're going to take both of them for just a quick drive here in the Utah desert, and then we'll take both of them to the Tough Truck Challenge map, as well as another build I did a while ago, the Raptor build. Alright, so let's see how this one drives. Immediately you're going to notice, off-road it is very bouncy, and I guess that's what you get with the off-road preset. It drives pretty nicely. It's, I don't know, I tested it on a slight gradient, and the slight top heaviness isn't helping it in terms of climbing steep slopes. But if you're just like desert cruising or something, you're definitely going to want this version of it more. It's going to be better just because it's higher. It's got better tires. Ooh, well, the bumper's not going to save you because it's the same one, but if you get stuck, you have a winch. The snorkel will help you go through water, theoretically, or just yell at people because it's a hidden megaphone. It's the small stuff that counts. Alright, let's try and do some off-roading, at least some light off-roading. Keep in mind we are missing the bumper now because it really likes to fall off, but we'll just switch into first gear and start going down this hill. And then I guess we can try and come back up it. So down the hill, I believe we've crushed the front suspension on the left side. Yeah, we definitely have, because that is just a little broken in there. But a quick reset later and we're good to go. Seems these automation cars aren't as strong as they used to be. Now, one thing we could do in the future is compare this to the actual Beam version of the Jeep that they have. I believe it's called the Hopper. That could be kind of cool to compare the two. Alright, so I've gone down the hill, but can I get back up? That's the real question here. First thing we're going to do, we're going to lock both the diffs, and we're going to put it in low range. And now let's try and see if we can get up this slope here. Probably not going to be able to make it up one of those, but I guess we can try. Alright, attempt number 1 until we have to go around. Okay, we're just too fat to fit. Okay, we're going around. Yeah, it seems like there's pretty much no way up here at this point. Probably going to be able to make it up here, though. There we go. And then we'll have to loop back around, but that's not too bad. This Jeep is pretty capable, and it can take a pretty decent beating before those front things break. But you can see that, like, bouncing and that flex. That's something that the other Jeep just cannot do, so that's what you get with your off-road upgrades after you spend 50k on them. Ooh, not bad though, bouncing around, but we are making it up this hill in second gear without any issues, except that's a boulder. The Pioneers might have been able to drive those for miles, but we're gonna have to use these Jeeps instead. Not bad, that was pretty decent. Okay, switching over to the stock Jeep, or Beep in this case. I'm gonna end up saying Jeep so many times instead of Beep, but yeah, we'll take this one for a drive as well. I'm gonna try not the same thing, but something similar. Maybe we can see how it drives off-road, again after crashing into probably the same obstacles. So one immediate thing to notice is that this Jeep is actually quite a bit faster than that one we just passed, just being like 100 pounds lighter. Actually 100 kilos lighter, sorry, not pounds. Alright, just in terms of off-road capability, let's try and have a fair comparison. I'm going to keep it in low, lock the diffs, all of that kind of thing. Same engine, same basic internals, but it's Definitely easier to damage this, just because it's, well, a lot closer to the ground, and when you jump over things, yeah, it tends to hit the ground a lot harder. Just not quite as good, but still good, like way better than a lot of the cars that I've made. And what we're going to test it up against is probably going to be quicker than both of these, but debatable in terms of off-road capability. Alright, you may have guessed it, but we're going up against the Workman Pro. This is the Workman Raptor version. It's got a lot more power than this Jeep does, but it is a truck. It's not purpose off-road, it's more like a desert runner. I believe I've tried it on this map before. It's definitely not as outfitted as the Jeep is in terms of off-road capability, but let's go ahead and try it. It does have lockable diffs, and it does have high and low. It's also got four-wheel drive. So, I don't know, let's pick a course. I know the one that's over there is just a little bit too easy for these, so I'll switch into drive. Oh, this one is an auto as well. Did not consider that. Goodness, it's weird to have some speed. I believe this thing's got 650 horsepower. So do you remember that massive hill that I've talked about as being pretty much unbeatable? It's incredibly difficult. Well, what we can do with our vehicles here is we can take them on the opposite route, so we'll end up going down that hill instead of up. So that's what we're going to try. Let's go ahead and use the Jeep first, and we'll see what we can do with that. Alright, a quick reset later, and some slight adjustment here. We're obviously going to lock both the diffs and have it in low range. Let's go ahead and try and make it up this hill. We're not going for any time limits or anything. This is all about ease of use. So if I can get it up the hill in a reasonable manner without much fuss, then that's considered a win. If I have to reset too many times, then, well, not so much of a win. But so far, goodness, it's bouncy. Can we make it over the first little obstacle? Please let us make it over this. Okay, hold on a minute here. We may have to reassess. It's not for lack of grip or lack of power that we're not making it up that. It's just that it's a challenging slope and this is mud, so it's making it a definite challenge to get up there. Well, we've lost a bumper, but I'm going to try and give it a run. Ooh, that's close. That is real close. Alright, taking the side route, I consider that to be fair. We're not having any route bias here. It's just whatever way it gets through. So far so good though, other than that slight mishap on the mud. Obviously that's going to be a challenging thing even for the Raptor. But the approach angle on this truck is great. On this Jeep I mean. I don't think it's technically a truck. But it makes it a lot easier to get close to these obstacles. Like the front wheels hang out enough that it's not a big deal. Definitely experiencing some frame issues. We're down to 46 frames a second here in this dense jungle, but it's not going to stop me from attempting this long voyage. I actually think that I've made this before in another vehicle, but I believe it was a Beam specific one. It might have been the Hopper off-road spec, but I don't remember. Alright, here's a huge downhill, and this is, okay, not gonna be tricky, but it's gonna be hard to just maintain any sense of composure down here, and yeah, we flipped over, goodness. Alright, I went for a quick reset, so that is reset number, I guess 2, if we want to get technical for this. Oh no, here's another hill. Okay, the mud and the hills do not, well, align for this Jeep. I'm actually going to switch into second gear. It might lower our wheel speed a bit, but it should help us get through this. Ooh, this is tricky though. Come on. There we go. It seems like wheel speed is maybe a little bit too much, but it did get us through that one area. And forwards we go. Ooh, landed on our feet though, not bad. Alright, a quick reset later and we're good to go again. I had to reset a few times there because it was totally stuck. Not stuck because of the map itself, but just stuck because it was just too narrow the way that I had it oriented there. But anyway, we're doing okay so far. I don't know how long this track is, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty long. Ooh, there's some water. Might be able to make use out of our snorkel. I guess not really. This is a pretty good map though. Like, this is a tough truck challenge for sure. If you were to try and make it through this without going for any resets, it's going to be a genuine challenge, and there's just a lot of stuff to get hung up on. Okay, seems we've come to a little bit of an easier portion. I am not trying to go fast, but I am kind of going fast. We're bouncing around quite a bit. Still in second gear, still with all the lock diffs and everything. I think I'm going to avoid that puddle. It just looks a little bit too dangerous. And making it through that without any issues. This area here seems to be pretty basic, just a nice stroll in comparison to some of the previous stuff we've been doing. But I think we're getting close to the part where we need to drop down that same cliff that we have been having a hard time getting up. I'll let you know when that comes. I feel like we're summiting a mountain with this one. We're just driving up a big canyon here. I'm very interested to see what the more high-powered truck can do. But this is a bouncy Jeep, my goodness. We're getting a little bit of damage off the side of the cliffs here. Ooh, and a slight roll. It's unfortunate. Now I know I could be grabbing nodes here and switching it, or I mean pulling it over, but yeah, I haven't been doing that, so I'm not going to continue to do that. We will have to be backing up here to try and get over this obstacle. Definitely need a little bit of speed to do it. Come on. Okay, there we go. We've crested it. Nice, not bad. It's just getting more narrow though. More narrow means more tricky for these larger vehicles. Barely made it up there. Oh wow, a water hole immediately afterwards. Goodness, that was not nice of the maker of this map to do. And another steep slope up here. I believe we're getting close to the end of the map. I'm getting excited. Oh, come on, Jeep, you got this. Ooh, easy, not bad at all. Just keep the wheel speed up and we make it. And soon we're gonna end up in that massive downhill. Okay, I think I found it. Goodness. Okay, what we have to do here is go hard on the brakes. The thing about this Jeep is that the front brakes are huge. And that means that we basically just have to idle our way down here. Because if I have to hammer on those brakes, it's gonna be real tough to come to a stop without flipping over. Not too bad so far, though. I'm using the handbrake, which would be at the rear, to slow me down. Basically just skidding along here. Again, we'll try this with the Raptor and see if we can do the same thing, but probably should be able to. That one is pretty capable as well. And that's it. We made it through the map. Now, there are a few moguls down at the end, but I don't know, they don't really count. They're not too hard. That's pretty much it for that tough truck challenge area. So let's jump these last few, and then we'll give that Raptor a go. And across the line. Not bad at all. Well, kind of bad. I mean, even after resetting quite often, it is in a little bit of rough shape. Okay, so this one is going to be a totally different animal. It has got a lot more power, and it's just generally going to be a lot more flimsy. I don't remember what preset it's on. Probably not the right one. And I think those are off-road wheels. I can barely see them. With this new screen that I have. It's a little bit darker than my previous one. But let's go ahead and give this thing a go. It is an auto, so I'm not going to be picking any gears here. We're just going to be driving. We've got a lot less ground clearance than the Jeep, but at least I know how long the map is. So at least I know roughly how long it's going to take for us to do this. Immediately, though, we are stuck. Just the same thing happened to the Jeep, so let's just bypass the obstacle like we did before. Okay, ground clearance is becoming an issue here. It also doesn't have a winch, so I don't know if we can technically do any of the like pulling that we would be able to do with the Jeep. Unfortunately, we've gone for an immediate roll, but thankfully have landed on our feet there. Let's try again, see if I can't just get up the side. Because if not, that might be the end for this thing. Okay, we're good. I made it up the side. Goodness. Well, I think that might be speaking to some of the trouble we're going to have just by having less ground clearance. I think an interesting comparison as well would be the stock Jeep with the same engine versus that Jeep that we just ran because the ground clearance is so much different. This thing has a lot more power, but again, ground clearance and off-road capability are a lot less. It's going to take a lot more nosedives than the last truck did. But it is going to do this course faster just by nature of having way more power, like 3 times as much. Alright, so far I haven't had to reset too much, but currently just flying through. We're going quite quickly, which is good and also bad. Good in the sense that the course can be done quickly, but it's bad in the sense that we're flying off and damaging things, and I don't know, if I was going to try and endurance this, it just would not work out with this thing at all. Definitely needs some more modification before it goes mud crawling like this. Ooh, not too bad up that hill. Pretty easy, actually. just have to keep on the throttle, just have to be, oh, that is bouncy though. Just have to keep it slow and steady on some of those cliffs. Like, the torque will carry it, so not much we need to do there. The auto is actually pretty good for the off-road. Wow, that was a big hit. But the auto is pretty good for the off-road. It just makes it so that we don't have to pick gears or anything. The transmission will do it for us, and it'll select the right ratio for the time, which generally speaking is probably first, because this thing has a very tall first gear. Alright, I will admit I'm having a lot of fun with the Raptor. I haven't had to reset very much at all. In fact, I haven't reset since that time that you saw me reset. And I believe that one of the wheels on the front left is totally just crooked right now and completely broken. Suspension is probably shot, but other than that, we're flying. Sometimes a little bit too literally. Oh yeah, when we get to that fast section we're coming up to, it's gonna be fun driving this on here. Now I think the only way we could just off-road ready it more would be to raise the ride height even further and to put some off-road wheels on it. But four-wheel drive, low range, like, just that by itself makes it capable. I'd be interested to see what a car with similar stats can do. Alright, we're getting up into that narrow area once again. Fighting off some of the rocks here. This one is, I think it's a little bit bigger than the Jeep overall in width and also length. Ooh, come on. Maybe I shouldn't have let off there. Might have to try this section again. Alright, coming at it with some speed. If this doesn't work, I'm going to reset. Because I think it's probably... Oh, no issues at all there. Goodness. Well, momentum is all it takes, I guess. This is a pretty solid face, so it's easy to climb, thankfully, but... Ooh, didn't have the same issues we did before with that mud puddle at the top of it. I have not had to reset this truck at all. It is just going. We're almost at the point where we're going downhill, and here it is. Okay, looks like we're not going down nicely. But at least we're going down. Oh, it actually righted itself. Not bad at all. We're actually... If I can make it all the way to the bottom without dying, then we could actually... have soloed this entire area, except for the beginning where this truck obviously got stuck a few times. But we could have soloed this entire area without having to reset. You can see the damage has run its course, but the truck itself, it's not doing too bad. So what do you think about that? That's the Tough Truck Challenge Enduro-drome there. It's similar to what Fail Race has done in the past. Yeah, you can see the Jeep and the truck are pretty much the same width, but that truck is way longer. The long wheelbase actually kind of helps it, at least around some of the jumps and things, but yeah, that's not bad at all. That's actually a lot of fun. So this kind of begs the question, what did we learn from this? And the answer is nothing. Like, I just did that for fun. There's no real comparison. When you put a truck up against a Jeep, I mean, the truck actually did do quite well, but the Jeep was definitely a lot more composed. Had that been my second run with the Jeep, like I went with the Jeep first and then I did the truck after, so I sort of knew the course. But if I did it the other way around, I'm pretty sure the Jeep would have been a lot smoother than it was. It's cool to see though. It's really fun to try these things out on this map and also some of the other off-road styled maps. I just find this one is quite good. Just because it's got so many really tough obstacles. A lot of them you don't think you can actually cross until you do. And sometimes it takes things as big as the Rhino big to get through them, but yeah, other times you can do it with a small Jeep like this. So yeah, let me know what you thought of the Overland Jeep. It's definitely a bit of a shorter video, but that's okay. It is a Wednesday after all. So yeah, I mentioned in my community post that the new upload schedule is going to be only uploading Wednesdays and Saturdays now. Gives me a little bit more time to make these videos, and yeah, hopefully with more time they'll be higher quality. Oh yeah, so that's it. Alright, before you go too far, I've got some people that I need to thank. Canadian Steel, Boris Ramirez, Slow Fried Chicken 69, Overlord, and Justin. Thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it a lot. If you want to join this crew, go ahead and hit that join button. And if you're an advanced supporter, I'll say your name at the end of the video, but everybody gets listed. I appreciate it a lot. Helps out a lot, especially these days as I'm currently trying to upgrade my computer. It's definitely hard to be able to buy these parts because they're so darn expensive, but the quality is going to be worth it, and I thank you so much for supporting that vision. But yeah, that's it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Next Friday, well, actually, it's going to be Saturday, as I said. We're going to be doing something interesting, kind of coming back to one of the previous events that was going on in the car world just a few weeks ago. We're going to make our own version of that, so stick around for it. I'll see you then.